Mara crouches by the coffee table, waiting for Noah, when the family calendar over the mantel shudders and slaps itself to April, though no breeze stirs. The old brass frame vibrates, scattering a line of dried lavender. She hears a second heartbeat, low and familiar, thumping from the hallway. Noah appears in the doorway, clutching her name scrawled on a torn index card. His gaze flicks to the calendar, and he whispers, "It's back." Behind them, the photo of their mother flexes a grin she never wore. The glass sports a fresh smear of red lipstick. Mara straightens the crooked brass frame again, palms damp from the burst of lavender that dusted the mantel. She lifts each dried sprig with a fingertip, tucking them back into the little dish she keeps beside the family calendar. The kettle hisses in the tiny kitchen as she sets two mugs, one chipped, the other Noah's favorite matte black, then leans on the counter to breathe through the lingering tick of the portal. Mara hauls herself from the couch, dragging her hips across the cushions toward the tiny kitchen table, while the smartphone in her hand blossoms with a harsh light. She flinches, shoulders snapping up as the unread notification pulses again, fingers digging into the plastic as if the glow might physically push her back down. Through Mara's eyes, Dr. Leon Chen's business card lies half-hidden beneath the sagging laundry basket. Its appointment line blank, an untouched lifeline she keeps avoiding. Mara Ellis lifts the smartphone from the sagging laundry basket rim, the glowing screen slicing the dim room as she swipes the notification open. Her shoulder jerks, the motion sharper than the slump she's been holding all night. "You left Mom alone and walked away like you could fix it later." "I never meant to abandon her. I just—" Mara's shoulders slump as she presses the phone harder to her sternum, fingers digging into the bone. Her gaze drifts to the floor, jaw clenched, the weight of the silence pulling the breath from her ribs. The smartphone screen glows with an unread notification. Leo, 7:13 p.m. The timestamp a silent proof that she hasn't replied and can't escape the argument that keeps her isolated. Mara drags the sagging laundry basket across the floor, shoulders hunched, and spills the tangled sweaters into the sink with a tired, deliberate shove. Mara sinks into the couch, her fingers curling around the edge of the family timeline chart before she lets go and clasps them together over her knees. The phone with Leo's voicemail still lit on the seat beside her. She drags a palm over her face, her shoulders twitching as the braced rigidity slackens into restless unease. "I came here to tell you everything I did wrong so I can finally say I'm sorry. Before we apologize, can you tell me what you expect will happen once you take all the blame?" Mara's shoulders tighten, and she presses her lips together as if holding something back. The family timeline chart, seen through Mara's eyes, shows the laminated silence and duty boxes spiraling through 3 generations, their glossy edges catching the late sun as if tracing the inherited weight of guilt she's trying to unravel. See how your grandmother and mother both absorbed guilt without speaking up? Where do you see your story on this map? If I hadn't left, I wouldn't be sitting here explaining it. I'm still the one who broke everything. Mara's shoulders slump as her jaw tightens, eyes dropping to the carpet while her fingers twist into the edge of the chair. Mara's phone screen, lit in the dim room, shows Leo's unheard voicemail and her mother's message. "Please don't come to Thanksgiving. Leo still isn't ready." Mara Ellis's fingers tighten around the phone, knuckles blanched, shoulders curling inward as the muffled guilt settles deeper. Her gaze drops to the floor, shoulders sighing with a weight that makes her pause mid-breath. "What does that message bring up for you?" "It feels like the door is locked until Leo forgives me, so I must still be the only one who broke us." Mara's shoulders slump, her fingers unclenching the edge of the chair as Leo's voice repeats, a tremor blooming through her limbs that finally lets some of the weight slip away. Mara clutches the dog-eared notebook to her chest, the page buckling as she scribbles, "Shared fear." and drags another tremored circle around the words, ink smudging where her hand stutters. So my shame wasn't love. It was her way of keeping me quiet. Yes, and now you see that blaming yourself sustained the same control you're trying to escape. Mara's shoulders drop, as if the weight of the room shifts, her fingers clenching white-knuckled on the chair arm. Eyes dart to the door one last time before she straightens, jaw setting, a tremor of resolve steadying her breath. On the laptop screen, the compiled family guilt chart pulses with overlapping red lines, each labeled with a name, and Mara's own column, pegged at the highest tension, points directly toward the draft letter's open cursor, the choice she's about to make hanging between them. Naming that shame might crack the quiet open or just slam them shut. Did you expect anything else? If I don't send it, they'll still believe I abandoned them on purpose. Mara Ellis's shoulders sag, fingers curling into the edge of the desk as her breath shudders, a tremor running through her jaw. Mara leans forward, fingers dragging across the touchpad to cue the speakers. Then she hovers above the voice memo icon and taps it, letting Leo's trembling message fill the office while her grip tightens on the desk edge. Mara's shoulders rise and fall in a shaking inhale, her jaw clenched so tight the tendons stand out while her fingers curl into the edge of the desk. If I send this, will they think I'm airing their shame? The chart makes clear it wasn't yours alone, Mara, and you can frame that without pointing fingers. But the truth can still cut before it starts to mend. Mara Ellis drags the draft letter into focus on the desk, shoulders lowering as she sets her palms on the keyboard. Her fingers clatter over keys, spelling out the pattern gently instead of accusation. Mara Ellis's shoulders sag as she presses her palms to the desk, eyes glistening with unshed tears, while her jaw clenches and breath catches in a stifled gasp. I'm terrified this could hurt them, but I can't keep pretending I failed alone. Then frame it with compassion. Share the chart as a pattern, not a verdict, and let your vulnerability invite their humanity. Mara slides the handwritten letter through the backdoor drop slot, fingertips lingering on the flap as the envelope glides past the cracked edge. Then lets the door ping softly shut and leans her forehead against the cool wood before stepping back. Through Mara's eyes, the yellow sticky note quivers on the envelope. The reminder, love isn't punishment. Be gentle with yourself. Casting a gentle insistence that honest compassion isn't a betrayal, but a step forward. I was hoping hearing from you would help me explain why I wrote all of this. I'm still raw, Mara. I need space, but I promise I'll read the letter. I can't talk yet. Mara props the cracked cell phone against the jar, thumb on the speaker icon. She inhales, dragging her fingertip along the sticky note's edge before letting her breath out steady. Her other hand steadies over the screen, tapping call. Mara, I wasn't trying to punish anyone. I wanted to name how shame became our pattern so we could step out of it. Leo, you always drop guilt on us and then disappear. You abandoned Mom, Mara. I can't have this conversation right now. Mara Ellis's shoulders sag slightly, exhaling as her hands unclench on the counter. Her gaze lifts, a tremor in her jaw betraying the fragile steadiness of her breath. Through Mara's eyes, the handwritten letter stamped with the compiled family chart lies under the buzzing phone. Each connected line, a reminder that choosing honest compassion could finally let her trace the wounds she inherited. Mara Ellis leans over the counter, the handwritten letter with the compiled family chart spread beneath her arm as she writes shared accountability beside the figures. Mara Ellis exhales, pressing her fingertips briefly to the yellow sticky note before flattening it back against the paper. Mara Ellis lets out a breath that softens her shoulders, fingers splaying once on the letter before resting palms down on the counter. Her eyes glisten, the tiniest upturn at the corners of her mouth anchoring the fragile hope. Mara cups the cracked screen cell phone, pressing it to her ear as the ring splinters through the quiet kitchen, her shoulders lowering inch by inch with each measured breath. Mara, I know you're still angry, and I'm not trying to fix everything tonight. But can we sit down and just talk? Leo, I'm furious, and I still need space. But I'll meet you. No promises beyond that. But we can start with a coffee. Mara's shoulders sag slightly as she lets out a shaky breath, the tension in her jaw easing as hope flickers across her face. Lena slides the old guilt chart off the magnetic board and leans it against the pantry. The scribbles no longer needed. On the clean surface, she pins a photo of everyone crowded around last week's dinner. Leo's grin, Mara's hand on her mother's shoulder, her own fingers curled in the frame. She sets a second mug of tea on the table, the steam curling toward the afternoon light. The hallway door eases open, and Mara's footsteps arrive. Slow but steady, a small basket balanced against her hip. Lena reaches for the handle, palm steady, and draws it wider. Mara steps inside, hair damp from rain, and the dog skids in, shaking water across the tile. Table's ready, Lena says, turning toward the warmth spilling from the living room, the laughter already beginning. She lets the door swing shut behind them, the soft click a quiet seal on the new day.